Dear Dr. Day, thank you so much for being here with us for METU podcast series. You are here at METU for the international conference titled Reshaping Career Planning, Bridging Gaps. So the conference represents a first in Turkey, as it is the largest international conference organized by a university career planning center. And it's specifically dedicated to career planning and development. So I want to start with asking, how are your impressions about the conference? You did a keynote speech yesterday, so we can start with that.
Well, the first thing that caught my attention about the conference is the name of the this year's conference, or the theme that was chosen. It's titled Reshaping Careers. And I could not think of a better way to describe the moment that we currently live in globally, as we are looking at major paradigm shifts in the world of work. Considering that we are looking at many jobs and careers disappearing, many jobs and careers being created, the deck is being reshuffled right in front of our eyes.
Some replaced by AI, maybe.
Exactly. So artificial intelligence, the impact of automation, technology. So this is the conversation that currently we are experiencing as a global society. And it is the role of universities like METU and like other universities to explore this conversation further. And I think the theme of this conference is appropriate and timely. And my impression is that as I arrived here, I found that the audience, people who came from all around the country here in Turkey and also around the world, who showed up are eager to participate in this conversation. They want to learn about new economic trends and models, and how higher education and industry can work together in order to face these paradigm shifts head on. And so the audience was fantastic, and I thought that there was a great reception to the topics being discussed. There's a sense of dynamism at this conference that is energizing. So I've been really impressed with many of the sessions that I've heard, and I am honored to have participated as a speaker here.
Yeah, actually, I was also as someone listening to the conference. There were a variety of different topics, and in your keynote speech, something just grabs my interest. There was a quote which is also pinned on your LinkedIn profile. It goes like this: if the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. Mm-hmm. So can we talk on this quote a bit more? I mean, what are its ramifications? What do you mean by the quote? And you attach real significance to the quote. Yeah. So can we talk about it a bit more?
Yeah, it's a Joseph Campbell quote that reads, "If you're on the if the path before you is clear, then you're probably on someone else's." And it's a call to arms, really, for all of us, for everybody listening, for me, myself, personally. It's a good way for me to remind myself to never get comfortable and too easy all the time, and to blaze my own trail, if you will, that I don't have to follow necessarily in a path that's already there. Every now and then we might run into pathways that have been blazed before us, and it's okay to leverage those. But each one of us human beings have an opportunity to make our own imprint on this world, hopefully a positive one. And what stands between us and that trail and that path that hasn't been blazed yet is Audacity. That's what stands between us and there. And it's, and it is the opposite of fear. But I don't want to say fear because that's more calling on a negative emotion. It's audacity. It's the ability to be brave and to take risks and to try something else, even if the outcome is not certain. Those are the moments that are most exciting. Sometimes the pathways we create for ourselves I feel like they're leading to nowhere, or that they are not leading us in the right direction. But if we use the right tools along the way, we might discover places that would have never been discovered, and we might create things that could have major benefits on society. And as a result, that process will end up being much more beneficial to our own selves in terms of just being feeling more passionate, more fulfilled in the work that we do. So it's a call to arms, really, for everybody to do that. It's a quote that I heard many years ago, and it stayed with me. But the reason I ended up adding it on my LinkedIn, I remember the day when I did that. I went for a jog outside of my house, and I usually follow trails that are right by train tracks. So I like to run by train tracks. And after quite a bit, as I was running, I got really tired and out of breath. So I stopped for a little bit to catch my breath. And when I did that, I recall, I still have that moment in my head when it was very quiet, the quietest I had heard for a long time. Not a soul in front of me. All I could hear was just birds and nature. And what I could see was a straight line of a track that was clear. You know, I could just follow it, and I would probably feel comfortable knowing that at some point I will reach a station. And then I started to wonder, like, what if from here I just started to create my own path and go somewhere else? And I have two choices here. And at times it's okay to follow the straight track because they can get us to just enough of a place in order to gain what we need to. But then when we reach a certain level of comfort, I think it's okay for us to step away. So that was the moment when I decided, I like running by this track, but I'm not going to right now. So, and then I just veered off and went on into the woods from there. So when I came back home at the end of that run, I remember just being so impacted by and inspired by that quote all over again. I ended up adding it as my description on my LinkedIn account, and it stayed there ever since. And now it's a standard quote that I share in all of my talks.
I think most of us generally prefer the easier way. I mean,
Sure.
Going with your example, it would be easier to take the path that we every day take for running, for walking, jogging. Something about this point, I mean, for students or recent graduates, it seems easier or more secure to take the traditional career paths. Being brave, taking some risks might come with its own negative aspects, maybe. But choosing between them, you would always recommend taking risks, as far as I get from your viewpoint.
Correct, and I want to add measured risks, and we have to take those risks with the right tools that allow us to increase the likelihood that the risk that we're about to take in the next step is going to produce positive results, but also that to minimize the sense of danger on ourselves, whatever that is. So for me to just veer off a typical track that I run in that's by train tracks and then go into the woods, I've taken risks here because I don't know where it's going to take me. There are animals in the woods. There might be other people that I might get lost in the woods. So I have to make sure that I have the appropriate tools. And in my case, to continue to use that example, it's a neighborhood that I know well. I know what's inside those woods. I have my cell phone with me. I know that I can still call if I need to. the chances of me getting lost are minimal. I'm just venturing into something a little different. So there's a little bit more risk, but it's not dangerous risk. So you use that, and for the advice that we give to students, for example, following the train track sometimes is helpful for a period of time. The good example for that would be pursuing a college degree, taking classes. This is a very paved pathway that is quite certain. You know what classes you will take, what the degree you'll have, how much you have to pay for that education, if you have to pay at all, where it is, who the teachers are, the community that's involved. So you have all the information. This is a pretty straight path that's been paved for you. You can do that during that time. But while you're there, you have an opportunity to step out of that framework a little bit and maybe participate in a venture, in a startup opportunity. Maybe take a class that is completely outside of the framework that you hadn't thought about. Perhaps participate in a research project that you hadn't considered before. You connect with a company and you want to do an internship with them. Now it's off. Sometimes you step out of that paved pathway after you finish. A bigger risk would be to quit all of that and go do something completely different, and you have no idea what the results are. You don't have investors. You don't have a support system. So the more you do that without the appropriate tools, the higher the risk. Then it can start to feel like it's not the right decision. And sometimes people do that and make it work, but most of the time it's a point of failure. So what I say is take risks, but before that, make sure that you spend enough time on the
calculations,
on the path that's been paved before you, on the clear path. Spend enough time there to gather the tools, to calculate, to gather the information, to make a sound judgment. Back in the day when people used to sail from land to land in the open waters in the ocean, they spent lots of time preparing for that, and reading maps and trying to gather information. Even today, they look at weather conditions, and so before you go into open waters, you want to gather all the information you can, and then you can do that.
Following up from here, I want to come to a point which is, I think, all of the viewers will be very interested. It's the Imagine Center for Life Design at Johns Hopkins University, which you are now managing, and you are the creator of the center, if I'm not wrong. So what kind of activities, what kind of programs are you carrying out at the center?
So we established the Imagine Center for Integrative Learning and Life Design. So this whole strategy that I just spoke with you about, using the Joseph Campbell quote, is really an illustration of a philosophy that we try to teach to students that's called life design, which recommends to students to be audacious, to follow their curiosity and experiment with those curiosities, and then to build networks and relationships around those, as opposed to planning precisely what they will be when they grow up, planning their careers. So we don't do career planning. We think that that's a model of the past. Rather than plan your career, we just say explore your curiosity and experiment with it and build networks. And that is, in fact, design your life. So don't plan your career, design your life. So what we've done at Johns Hopkins is create a center that is the physical manifestation of that idea, that allows students not only to come and explore their curiosities, but also to experiment, to participate in experiential learning. So within this center, you might have an opportunity to engage with resources that allow you to connect with internships or with undergraduate research or with studying abroad or working on campus or volunteering or doing an entrepreneurship project. You can apply for funding to allow you to do all of these things, to connect with alumni, with mentors, with companies, We have life design educators who are available there to support you in this journey. So it's a different kind of center from career planning, which I would describe really quickly as starting from the wrong question of what do you want to do with your studies, or where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years, or what career pathway you're interested in. Those are questions that typically do not really lead to the right answers. They tend to create more anxiety for students anyways. So we moved away from that traditional transactional model, and we created the Imagine Center for Life Design to engage students in all of these opportunities. We opened it in 2022. We started the life design philosophy in 2018, so it's been only 6 years. It's been only 2 years since we opened the center. It's been very successful. We have lots of engagement there for students, undergraduate and graduate students at Johns Hopkins, and it's becoming quickly a national model for how to build these types of interactions for students.
As far as I can see, you also are trying to redefine the terminology used in career planning and development, like not saying career planning, but life design.
Correct.
I mean, giving it a bigger context.
That is correct.
So that's, I think, one of the main outcomes of the center, as far as I can see.
And I'm glad you noticed that, because an important step of transforming a process and organization as we have is to redefine the narrative, to redefine the story. And language is very important with that. So the type of words that we use are very important. So we were very clear from the beginning that we will not use the traditional terminology like career planning, career development, career center, jobs, like any of these things. Even though most of what we do is related to these words, but even the word career, we try to move away from that, and because we're talking about people's lives, so we're talking life in general. So this is not just about career or about job. This is about your entire life. Ultimately, our goal is for students to be fulfilled in their lives. That's what we're really reaching. We redefined the goal too. Like a traditional career center, they'll say, well, the goal is for them to have jobs. Well, yeah, that's one goal. That's one step. But if we really do our jobs well, what we're looking at is a holistic experience for students, and we want them, after they graduate, to have successful and fulfilling lives of joy and of passion, especially since today, and we will see more in the future, is that our lives and our work are more integrated than ever before. Our students will probably evolve in their careers and in their lives multiple times throughout their lives. They might start in one profession but then retire in another, but it's all connected. So we're really looking at this from a very, very different point. And the language we use is very, very important. So we pay a lot of attention to that. I mean, even the word career, we try not to use that a lot. So we use words like life design. We use words like curiosity. Get curious. So be curious.
Even the imagine. The word imagine also gives that kind of a vibe that
yes,
trying to redefine.
We fought very hard for that because when we proposed it was very different from what you normally see in a university campus. And I think I remember one of the pushbacks I had heard that early on was that, we don't usually put verbs as names of buildings, imagine. But I think when I heard that, I realized that the person I was talking to did not get the vision yet. So I had to spend more time defining the narrative and the vision. And then once I did that, they got it. They're like, okay, I think I see. Because I think they were thinking about it as, well, the name should tell people what it is so that they can decide whether it's for them or not. And they didn't understand where I was going where I was going is, no, if you're walking by the building and you see the big sign that says Imagine, my interest isn't for you to come in, because coming in and the building and interacting with our resources is just one way for you to do this. what I was really interested in is that word imagine might have a chance to create a spark in you, to make you wonder, imagine what, to stick in your head. Maybe it's just the right moment when you get inspired, where you get curious. It's supposed to give you permission to really imagine beyond the title of your major or the career path that you promised to take, or what your parents have been telling you what you want to do, what society is telling you what you want to do, or thinking that you should pursue this type of path because it guarantees employment or money. The idea of having a building that has the word imagine opens all of those pathways, and you may never come in the building throughout your entire time at our university. I'm okay with that if that word has allowed you to do that. I think our communications people, once they heard that, they realized, oh, we're really going after a culture change here. We're not going after just putting a name on a building. So you're right. Imagine, we wanted it to be the brand and the name of the building, and it stuck. It has worked.
Maybe going on with a slightly different topic, but it's sure connected. At the beginning, you mentioned the changing future of jobs, future of work. Also, we mentioned AI. So I really wonder your take on the future of work.
What is clear to us already, and there is a lot that isn't, but what we know for sure now is that there will be jobs that will disappear. That will cease to exist fairly soon. You know, they already started, but I'd say fairly soon. You know, I was in ride-share services, you know, for cars. What's, you know, we have Uber and Lyft in the United States. What do you have here? I know Uber you have here. What else do you have?
Yeah, some time ago there was Uber, but it's like changing companies taking places of each other.
What's the big company here that does
I think right now there is only the traditional cab drivers.
Oh, okay.
But a few years ago there was Uber. We can just go with Uber for the sake of example, yeah.
You know, I was in a city the other day and I saw a new company, a new vehicle coming by. I have the app, and I could call it, and it has no driver. It's a self-driving car without a driver. It's currently being tested in 3 cities in the United States, and California and in Texas and in Georgia, I think. I believe in a couple of other cities too. It's growing, so I can go to any one of these of cities and order this car. It's being tested, and it's working. And what that tells me is that it's only a matter of time, within years, before it becomes a mass product. Just like, you know, Uber and became a product that almost everyone consumes these days. That's within a decade, you know. I think by 2030 we will get there in most places around the world where you will find when you find cars like these. So what would that do to taxi drivers, to Uber drivers, so that's a job that I think will move on. Take it a step beyond that, truck drivers who bring merchandise from one place to another. The technology that powers these cars is also being tested on trucks, and that's a profession right there. This is just one example to take. I'll give you another example. I was touring a company that makes surgical robots that are being used to perform surgeries around the world. And I was able to test the robot myself. It was a large room like this one with a big robot, and I was there and I performed a simulation of a surgery on what it was, a simulation of a body. And as I looked around, it was me and the robot and a technician in the room. And what occurred to me is that decades ago, even now, but I would say decades ago, there used to be a full room of surgeon, nurses, medical staff performing an operation on a human being. We are quickly reaching a point where you will not need more than 2 or 3 people in the room with major surgeries that are happening. And they could very much happen with the patient in one country, and the doctor and the medical staff are in another country using the power of internet and automation and robots to perform this. What will that do to the medical industry? Artificial intelligence has opportunity to completely redesign how education happens and how people learn. For the first time, I think we're getting closer to a prospect that people will learn in schools and colleges like this one based on their own profiles and learning capacity and interests and curiosity. Artificial intelligence is already starting to do this, and it will do this more in the future. So what will that do to curriculum design, to infrastructure like this one here in this university, to professors, to teachers? That has, I think, a disruptive impact on education in general. So I've named now 3 different examples, and we could go for an hour naming all of the other examples of how artificial intelligence is going to create a disruption. So that's point 1. Point 2 is that this is not the first time that humanity has faced a big transformation in its economy and in its workforce. Industrial revolutions prior to this one have done the same to jobs and to careers. And each industrial revolution, whether it's moving into the steam engines or mass production or others, humanity was always faced with the dreadful question: what jobs will we lose, and what jobs will be created, and will we adapt? And the truth is that we always adapted, and we will adapt on this one too. And what will happen is that workers will have to learn how to acquire skills quickly, how to be continuous learners throughout their lives, because change will happen faster and faster, and then how to use artificial intelligence and leverage it for their own selves to create new pathways to be audacious with their own careers. So I don't think it's doomsdays. I think it's actually a great opportunity for people, but we just need to understand it a little bit more to do this. One thing that I didn't explain also is the impact of artificial intelligence on the field of computer science itself. I think for the last 10, 20 years, universities been producing at larger numbers every year, computer programmers, because there was a major need for that. But we are quickly approaching an era in which programs or codes are going to be developed by machines themselves. So that, I think, is going to disrupt that industry itself. So we might not need as many programmers in the future as we did in the last 20 years. So what will be the future of computer science as a field? And how can people who study that field still leverage artificial intelligence to create new pathways? So lots of questions to be answered. But one thing is for sure is that the workers have to learn how to learn quickly, how to learn new skills quickly. Universities have to integrate the skills of the future into their curricula. I think that they are behind all around the world. We in higher education have not caught up quickly enough. And then companies have to partner with the universities in order to ensure that the workforce is prepared adequately.
Overall, as far as I can see, you are optimistic about the future of work and AI's integration into our current workplaces. I think you think it will develop our abilities.
Yes.
And it will. It's a possibility for us to grow with learning AI and programming maybe?
I am very optimistic. I don't think artificial intelligence is going to make humanity more stupid. I think it'll make us smarter. That I am convinced. Just like technology has prior, I think it will continue. I think it'll make us more efficient. And I think it'll elevate our ability to perform at a higher level and to perform other tasks that we had not been able to even think about performing in the future. We'll be able to do things much faster. We'll be able to integrate and combine things. We'll be able to discover new ways, and then we'll be operating from a completely different level. I think the traditional jobs we're going to lose them, but there'll be new and exciting new jobs that require skills that schools will have to teach. So I don't buy into the fear that robots will take over the world and we will be working for robots. That I don't think will happen. I would hope that government structures and particularly in defense, etc., that they will use artificial intelligence with a great sense of responsibility, because there are also risks. Like it'll be a powerful tool, but it can also be used for bad things too. And my hope is that those structures will do that too.
Dr. Dey, as a last question, I want to ask your advice to students and graduates, recent graduates. If you were to give one single advice, what would that be?
Be audacious. I think the call to audacity sometimes can be dismissed because people might think that only people who are in strong economic environments can be audacious. But the truth is that audacity favors the disadvantaged. Think about it. If you or I lived in a very nice house, had all the money in the world, had nice cars, have great families, we have everything that we wanted, and we were very comfortable with using these material standards to describe that level of comfort, why would we be audacious?
No need to work hard.
It's hard.
Be audacious.
It's hard to imagine being audacious, right? Even just the word "imagine" is no longer appropriate. It's like, imagine what? I have everything I need. So we get more comfortable. So audacity favors the disadvantaged, and I say this particularly, in the context of perhaps a challenging economy here in Turkey, where students might feel like their job prospects are less. And this call for audacity is coming from someone who is speaking to you, but who's going to go back to America and maybe lives and works. And, I live and work in a relatively stronger economy and better job circumstances, that it's a message that probably is much more received there than here. But in fact, I think what I want to say is that audacity favors the disadvantaged. So if there are disadvantages that exist because the economy is weaker, because there are less jobs, because there are less opportunities, this is the moment. This is your opportunity, because you are disadvantaged. You have so many restrictions. You have so many opportunities to blaze your own path, to test things out. And the best moment in one's life to do this is when we are at the college age, in fact. Why? Is because for students here, for example, you are surrounded by inspiration and curiosity. You're surrounded by faculty, by professors and books and classes. You have the opportunity to learn from anyone you would want. Take classes in things you're really curious about. Read lots of books, participate in programs. You're in this environment. This is your best moment to really be audacious. And then try things out. And if they fail, try again. And actually, failure is a great learning opportunity. So that is my message: is do not think that because the economic challenges exist, it's hard to be audacious. I think audacity favors the disadvantage. So this is your moment. Be audacious. Take something you're really curious about and experiment with it. Develop relationships. And if you do that, then you have just designed your life. And it's much more exciting than planning your career.
Yeah, eye-opening perspective.
Yes.
Really. Yeah.
Good.
Dr. Dey, thank you so much for making time. We have a small gift for you from our campus store. Let me present the gift to you.
That is sweet. Should I open that now?
Yeah, you can. Sure.
Very nice. Well, I will.
It's a decorative item.
I will say that the people of Turkey are so generous.
Yeah, thank you.
And hospitable. And I love this.
Actually, it represents 3 campuses of Middle East Technical University. Yes. Apart from this campus that you've seen, we have 2 other campuses in different cities. One of them at Mersin Erdemli, which is an Institute of Marine Sciences.
So that's where there's a boat.
Yeah, there's a boat. And the other one is in Cyprus, in another Turkish Republic of Cyprus. Yeah. So we have 3 campus places, actually. So these represents the 3 campuses.
Well, one of my passions is the ocean, and I like to sail a lot, and I like boats, and so next time I visit, if I have a chance, I'll have to go visit this campus.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. This is very generous of you.
It was a great chance to have you here and listen your opinions about life design.
It's my honor, and my best wishes to you and to all of your students here.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.